It's time for Veterans Issues, a show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their families. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and today's guests, Jane Cunningham and Tom Wright. We're going to talk about some animals. We've got one right here. You'll see it in a minute. Be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and appreciate you tuning in today. Appreciate you tuning in last week, too. Today, I've got some folks on here we was trying to have on several months back, but the snow and the bad weather got us. Jane Cunningham is the president of the Cheaha Regional Humane Society, and Tom Wright is a founding board member. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Welcome. Thank you.
Jane.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you for having us.
Good to see you anytime, anywhere, because whatever you're doing, you're into something that makes a difference in people's lives. And
Thank you. Try to.
I'm proud to know you. Let's talk about, Tom, you're a founding board member. That means you've been there a while. And I want to know personally, I don't have it written down, but I'm going to ask you personally, what made you do this?
Well, I've known Jane for a long time, and I've known about her passion for animals, and I've always had a passion for animals. And I mean, right now I've got two shelter cats. Gracie here is a shelter rescue, and then two strays that I've got. And I've always had a passion for animals. There were some concerns about the Humane Society previously, it wasn't the Humane Society then. It was just basically the facility that was utilized for
Really a
the
kill
strays.
shelter, wasn't it?
Basically, it was.
What I knew about it, yeah.
Right.
It was a
Well, let me ask
slaughterhouse.
you talked about Jane. Everybody knows what hers is, but I'm sort of talking about Tom Wright. Why would you throw yourself into something like this? It's just a tear your heart out.
That's a good question. I wondered that sometimes. It's just very important to me ever since I was growing up, and even before I came back into private practice here. I had a farm, and we had animals and horses and dogs and cats, and we were the drop-off point for everybody that had an unwanted animal. And we, of course, took them all in, and they've just always provided a lot of companionship.
So you did it from here?
I did it from there. Certainly, there's not any financial reward, I can promise you that.
One more while I got you. You've been a judge a while, and am I off base when I say that somebody that come in a courtroom that had abused an animal has probably abused some people? Would it be likely to, or am I anywhere near what?
Well, I do family court, and any time a child or a juvenile comes in and there's a history of any animal abuse, you know there's a problem, and you know you've got some serious issues that have got to be dealt with. It's not necessarily 100% of how a person's going to turn out, but it's certainly, if you don't address the issue, it's something that's going to keep on throughout their life.
That's amazing. I just always thought that would be something that was a connection, because you see some of these serial killers and all that stuff, and you could chase it back to something in their life.
Absolutely.
And you'll hear somebody, well, they used to do this with dogs and cats, and I say, man, why don't people notice those things, you know?
Well, it's certainly one of the biggest red flags there is as far as any delinquency charges.
Speaking of red flag, boy, this what's going on in Florida and all this stuff. You being over a juvenile court, that's you got to have a seat up there for God to sit beside you, hadn't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's something that you have to follow the law, but you have to. The first thing is to ensure that everyone's safety.
There you go.
That's the most important thing. But it's just tragic.
Well, I didn't mean to get off on all that, but I do appreciate you doing it, because everybody that knows you knows what a great man you are, what a great citizen, and how you care. Jane Cunningham. I wanted to address some of the things that people do on social media that don't have any idea what's wrong. Chained dogs. You see a dog that's chained, you're driving around, you see one with a chain on it, can you jump over the fence and cut it loose?
I wish I could, but I can't.
Legally, can you?
Unfortunately, we are really behind on the laws in Alabama. Jacksonville's made some steps up on that about how long you can have a dog chained, and it's very, very small amount of time just to take it out for a short period of time. Millie Harris has tried to get that
I
in
know that.
Anniston, and unfortunately, we just do not have the education for people to understand exactly what they're creating and the abuse of doing that.
I've seen, did not change, but these things look like 40, 50 pounds.
Absolutely.
And it's not a chain. It's not. Well, it's there to restrain the dog and to hold the dog in place, and it's in mud. And I know legally I can't do anything about it. But
Can't do anything about it. And when we get those dogs in, then they are unsocialized. They've had a miserable life, and basically it's a death sentence because all they've done is leaving out there in misery all this time.
This is something that I don't have any talking points on or anything, but would you say that like Easter and Christmas and stuff like that, when people purchase an animal as a present, that they end up in the shelter sometime because they wasn't really ready for one?
A lot of times, and that needs to be a family discussion. That does not need to be a spur of the moment purchase that they just go in and immediately decide they want to take it home. They need to talk about the responsibility of being an animal owner, and make that animal a part of that family.
Tom, your thoughts on that then?
I agree, and I can tell you this: I've never bought an animal in my life. They've all either walked
Stole
up
all
on
of them. That'll be on there.
they've either walked up on the property or were dumped on my property, or I went to the shelter and picked them out.
They know the dogs know which house to go to, don't they?
They absolutely.
Apparently.
I want to get, when somebody wants to help out with the shelter out there, I just witnessed something the other day, and you did too. When you put out the note because of the weather, a lot of people, rescuers couldn't come in, you were going to have to put several dogs down, and the community stepped up.
The community was unbelievable. You know, we have a dual side to that. We had people that saved so many lives, but then everybody also wanted to make it hard on the employees. A lot of people criticized us because of euthanizing, and most shelters will euthanize 30, 40 dogs a day. That's not what we're about, and that's why it's so hard. We don't want to do that. And so we put it out there. The community was wonderful. We're in a really good community of animal lovers.
And you got people like Tim Hodges and people at the county commission office that'll step up and help whenever they know what you need. If you tell them what they need, and you're lucky in that sense. But I want to talk about spay and neuter, and either one of you can jump in on this. And me, from a layperson, what I have seen, witnessed, is going back and forth to Montgomery, is it would be hard to get a bill through requiring, let's say I want to set up a clinic and give discounts to veterans or give $5 spay and neuter. I would be attacked, not physically, but by the veterinarians who have paid for their license, paid for their people, paying the rent and all this stuff. The political action committee would just tear me apart, wouldn't it?
The Alabama Vet Board is a very strong
I
lobby,
didn't know they had such
very, very strong lobby in Montgomery. Now, we have a lot of local vets that are great to help us, but the Alabama Vet Board makes sure that Alabama is a little different. We cannot have a vet work in our shelter and work on other people's animals at a discount.
I think we got to go to break. And we're going to go to break. We'll come back, we're going to talk about more about that. And here we go. We'll be right back. Get a pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We're talking with Tom Wright and Jane Cunningham. We're talking about animals. If y'all see Gracie laying here on the table, I hope you to get a shot at that. She has just got so bored of us talking that she just said, "The heck with it. Good night. I'm out of here." That is so precious. And Tom, that is a sheltered dog rescue.
Gracie is a rescue from Cheehaw Humane. We've had her about 2 years. We think, as she gets comfortable, we think she is a Shih Tzu Dachshund mix, but
It don't matter.
it doesn't matter.
No. She
She's,
don't need no driver's license. She don't need nothing. No debit card or nothing. They got people
She fits right in, and her best friend is a shelter cat.
What about Jane? Let's go to another thing. When people do something to abuse animals out there, like leaving them out in the cold or something like that without any shelter or something, is there any kind of prosecution that can happen to them for animal abuse?
Absolutely.
Who does that?
It depends on where you're located. Usually it's your local law enforcement, but I get calls
You
or
get to do that?
messages every day because people are afraid to make that call a lot of times.
I remember one thing on social media was a little pony out in the front yard tied up to the rope, and all the weather, all the rain and stuff coming down it, and they were really blasting you behind your back about why didn't you pick it up and put it in your car, you know. They think, and that's what I want to do here today, is to make sure that they understand you can't just go in, even though they're abusing, you can't do that just by yourself.
I am not law enforcement. I cannot go on private property. I cannot take someone's animals. I have to take law enforcement with me if they are
bet you one
abusing
thing,
or
I bet
neglecting.
you're packing when you do go. I know you.
I do.
If someone, like I was talking about with the Christmas thing, and they can't afford it, either one of you guys says they've got to a point where I see people posting things, I can no longer keep the dog, and they put a picture of it, you know. That's a better way than so people drop them off out there to you, don't they?
Oh, they drop it off all the time. They don't want to go through the paperwork, and that's against the law also. But if they will work with us, we will try our best to get it into a rescue or a good home.
All right, let me say that I've got a dog. I'm getting a divorce, and where I'm going to have to move, they don't allow animals. So I've got to go against my heart. I got to get rid of this little dog. I know all the paperwork, who the vet is and all that stuff, but rather than just dump it out there to you guys, I can call you, and what happens?
You can bring it in. You can make sure we've got the space. You bring the vet paperwork. It's something so simple as the animal having its name. For us to be able to call it that name, that's the only thing they have. And that gives it a sense of comfort when it's in the shelter because of that. And so that makes all the difference in the world. It is thrown into a very scary, very loud place. We need to know as much as we can about that animal to be able to get it in the right situation.
What about microchips?
We do microchipping all the time.
That's a great thing.
Microchip is so important because that's the first thing. When an animal comes in the shelter, we scan that animal to see if it's got a chip, and if it's got an owner, we can contact.
All right, let's see what else. I want to make sure I get on. What about if you find a dog? You don't have the money to pay the bill, but you find a little dog on the side of the road, any kind of dog, and you find it, and you bring it to the shelter, and all you've done is just rescued one off the road.
Right.
What happens then?
Well, you just bring it in, and we try our best to
But
put
I mean,
it
they
out
hadn't
there.
got to pay, have they?
Not if they found it. Now, the problem with that is we've had a lot of people say that they found
No.
it, and that doesn't fly. We have to back that up just a little bit. It's only a $10 intake fee. People
Yeah.
don't realize the expenses in the shelter, and the county does not give us enough to operate the way we need to operate on that. But if they find a dog, we have to put it on a 7-day hold for the owner to give the owner a chance to reclaim it.
Because I know they'd be, I ain't got $10 and I don't want to, but I'd rather them bring it to the shelter and give it a chance than
Absolutely.
not to do that. Now, I noticed somewhere on some site regarding your place that you're looking for employees. Is that to do just the normal work around there? Is it administrative or what?
We're always looking for good employees. It's a combination usually. I mean, we don't have the funding to just say you have one job, but it has to be a labor of love.
That's
I mean,
what
somebody has to really understand that they're there to make a difference.
Would you hire Tom if he's looking for a job?
Absolutely. I'd make him the director if he would take the job.
This is something that gets a lot of discussion. How cold is it before it's too cold to leave your dog outside? How wet is it too wet before you leave your dog outside? And I get into that myself because I send out a notice, remember tonight, it's getting cold.
Right.
And if it's cold when you go outside, then in my opinion, it's
too
cold for your
cold.
little dog.
It's too cold. In Alabama, we have more die from heat than we do cold, just by nature of our
Yeah.
weather. But if it's below freezing, the dog needs to be in a garage. It needs to at least be in a house with some shavings, blankets, some type of heat if you can for it. It needs something.
That's what bothers me, because a lot of the people that says, I'm not going to have a dog in my house, and it's an outside dog. It is until it gets down that cold, but then an old quilt or some old newspapers or anything in the corner of a garage that don't take up your space and you still got your golf clubs and all that. To do that just for a couple of days to let it go.
It's not going to hurt anything, but Alabama law does address that. They are supposed to have proper shelter, food, and water at all times.
Well, what is proper? That's what I'm saying.
Well, they just did a new definition on that, and they're working on that in the legislature. Millie Harris did a definition in Anniston. I consider
God bless you, Millie.
She's a saint. She is a saint. She's worked wonders for this area.
I don't see how she lives. And huge, but 18 to 20 dogs in there. She had to. If somebody bring one in, one leg.
She takes them. She helps us constantly. She's a big supporter of the shelter. She has made a real difference in the laws here in Calhoun County.
I think when you get to heaven, God say, "What did you do down on earth?" And when she starts running off lists, I took care of the animal. That's enough. Come on in.
That's enough. Millie
what do you
definitely
think, Tom?
has a place.
I agree with that, and children and old people, you got to add those on there too.
So me too. Oh, I love it.
No, you're not there, Ken. Not yet. So.
I got a dog, and I'm old people. So, what about tax deductions for somebody that makes a donation out there?
Absolutely, we're a 501c3. It's 100% deductible off of your taxes. Anything, even if it's not cash, if you come and bring supplies to us, or if you have things for the yard sale, we have a quarterly yard sale that we try to raise money.
PetSmart, you take them down there once in a while.
Oh, the first 3 Saturdays of the month, and sometimes more than that. The first 3 Saturdays we're down there. Our cats are there all the time. We have an in the kitty condos.
You know that's a dirty deal, don't you? When people like me go into PetSmart to get something else, and I see those little fellas.
You're supposed to let them tug at your heart.
I know, that's what they do.
You're supposed to. And the cats, we really
So we get a close-up on Gracie before we check out here today. That is precious.
Gracie is quite
Folks,
comfortable.
if you have not ever rescued a pet, that right there is enough in itself to make you want to do that. Look at that. That is so precious.
Gracie was dumped out. Gracie was headed for a very hard life if she even lived at all. Those puppies were very sick when they came in. And so Gracie is the perfect shelter animal. She shows you the love that you get when you adopt a shelter pet.
Didn't it? Yeah. I'm sorry I bored you so much, Gracie. We'll try to have a more lively show the next time you come on here. That is precious. But that's and everything we said today, there's the answer.
That's it.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all coming on and doing the show. Will you come back?
Thank you. Oh, anytime.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
I got you on here saying that.
Oh, anytime. Please do. You do so much to help us,
Thank
Ken.
you for what you do, buddy.
sir.
I appreciate you. I'm glad to know that we
appreciate
got
it.
somebody in our court system with the moral scruples and all the things you got that I know you got. You take care of yourself, and I'll get
appreciate
to see you grow.
Thank you for
Thank you.
always
Thank you for
helping
that.
us.
All right. We're going to go to a break, come back. I got news that you can use. Stay right there and get a pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. I do appreciate Jane Cunningham and Tom Wright coming on doing the show today, and they said they're coming back. So, and Gracie, thank you so much for coming on doing the show today. You did a great job. You're going to have your own show before it's over with again. For you folks that's looking for lawn maintenance, all you guys and girls out there that need to save some bucks, I get nothing from this, but this young man, Hayden Crow out of Heflin, he does a great job for me and others. When he did mine, I got him to do some others. He's doing it for half the price of other people and does a great job. His number is 256-201-7757, and it's New Leaf Lawn and Landscape, 256-201-7757, Hayden Crow. Let's see, the VA hotline, this is the number you need to have. This is the one at the White House that Trump set up, and it's a lot of people call me about veterans information. This is a better place than me. 1-855-948-2311. 855-948-2311. If you're not a veteran, just write that down, and you might give it to a veteran and help them out there. And the number for the crisis line, veterans out there, 22 killing themselves every day. This is a chance to, if somebody's in distress or wanting to harm themselves or others, this is the number you call there, 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-8255, and when the voice comes on, press 1 if that's somebody in need. Now, Wounded Warrior Alabama, let's write all this down. That's why we're going to pin, woundedwarrioralabama@gmail.com. Phone number, 256-458-2715. That's Wounded Warrior Alabama. That's a group that's formed by a fellow named Ross Winter, who's a veteran. And Ross has put his money into this. And just this past weekend, we got a veteran out here just living in filth. And him and his crew went out there, and they did everything you can think of for this veteran in his house. Now he's living in a decent situation. He didn't ask for any kind of paperwork or anything like that. They just went out and helped the veterans. They built ramps for the housebound and that kind of thing. Just people doing real good, doing stuff instead of talking about it. Keep that number handy. The Firefighters Memorial for the state of Alabama will be finished in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be unveiling that with the governor and all of them up there. But we lost an officer, Officer Billa, down in Mobile, and we'll be putting his name on the memorial on May the 11th, and have his family up here in the mayor and all of them from down in Mobile. It's a bad, sad time for us, but me and Bill Partridge, that's our mission, is to make sure that every name gets put on that memorial, on the law enforcement memorial. And the way we do that is when you purchase that tag, the law enforcement tag, you can get that tag even if you're not in law enforcement, don't even know anybody in law enforcement. But what it says is the person driving that vehicle cares about those who lost their life in the line of duty. So the revenue from that tag is how we built that memorial, and it's how we maintain it, and how we're going to add that name, and all the things that we have to do. We have the law enforcement coins and things that we do. So think about that if it's time to purchase a tag. Think about the law enforcement tag. The Veterans Choice Card is still in effect. If you don't want to go to the VA in Birmingham, if you go down here and get you a choice card, you can call that number, and give them your number, and you can go to a local facility for eye care, ears, or whatever. So the choice card is effective. I use it, and so get you one. And we let's see, what all we hadn't covered is pay it forward. Oh man, I tell you about that, but that's for you. Pay it forward. You're in the line at Dunkin' Donuts. Pay for the car in front of you or the one behind you. You'll get a blessing out of it. They will too. So continue that on. This week's salute. These salutes are very expensive, so very few people get them. But this salute goes out to all those folks that's out there working at the shelter at Cheal, and Jane and Tom and all the others. So here's your salute. We'll see you next week on Veterans Issues.